Hello, everybody. Just getting organized here. It's my first day back from vacation, and I need the proverbial vacation to recover from my vacation. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. This is an open working meeting of the DETNet working group, looking at scheduling and queuing. This is the Note Well slide. Um, it applies to this meeting as it applies to every IETF meeting. And let me go ahead and see if I can switch over to the agenda. Okay, so this is an open working meeting on the enhanced DetNet data plane. Initial focus is scheduling queuing. Um, this is the agenda. Let me first check. Am I speaking to myself or can people out there hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Thank you.
I
Okay, so
can hear
this
you.
is great. Thank you. All right. So this is the agenda for this meeting. It's a little bit different from the past ones. We get to bash the agenda in a moment. Um, we're going to talk about what we're doing to make progress and how we're going to get things done from here. And then on the want to start to try to draw some conclusions from the look we've been taking at the TSN mechanisms with respect to the requirements draft. And there's a couple of things here. First is we have this new ECQF going on in in 802 that we got to talk about a little bit, and then with help from uh, PSF and EJU, we have a summary of TSN mechanism evaluations to take a look at. Um, the goal here is to understand where things sit with respect to the requirements draft based on what already exists. And with luck, it'll shed some light on relative importance of requirements for new mechanisms. Any comments? Anybody want to bash the agenda? Okay. So I need to go find. Hang on, I need to go find a slide deck. Just a minute. Okay. All right. All right. Oh, I know what we should do. Um, can I get a few folks to volunteer to head over to the Hedge Doc page where we're sort of taking notes on the meeting and generally take notes on the discussion? I'll probably drop a few notes in there as we go along. Okay, for progress from here, um, this meeting is, I think, mostly, but plan for this meeting, and happy to take suggestions for doing something different, is to take a look at the summary of the TSN queuing mechanisms with respect to requirements draft. And along the way, we should talk about ECQF. And I've seen a bunch of folks working on new proposals who've prepared one slide summaries of how their mechanisms stack up against requirements in the requirements draft. Uh, I think it would make the most sense to start taking a look at those at the next open meeting because I didn't put out an announcement that said, "Hey, if you've made one of those slides, please bring it." So I want to give everybody an opportunity to prepare those slides, and maybe they'll be available in advance of the next meeting. Um, any comments or questions on that? Oh, gee, quiet group this morning. Okay. Anybody want to say anything else or ask a question before we go take a look at ECQF? Okay. I'm going to do the projection off my local system because I have a slightly updated version of the slide deck. It should look a great deal like what's in meeting materials, and it'll get updated afterwards or uploaded afterwards. Okay, go. All right, so one more click and we'll be there. Okay, Shafu, do you want to talk about what's in ECQF and the the initial evaluation against our requirements draft?
Sure. I will try to get some evaluation for EC curve. So for the first item, that is polarization time asynchronous. The evaluation result is yes. Because the EC curve is just try to satisfy the maybe large link delay in the network. So it does not relate the time synchronization. But it depends
Could you
on
do,
the
hang on,
frequency synchronization and frequency lock. That means all nodes must use the same cycle time.
could you provide a high-level summary of what the enhancements are in ECQF?
Hi, Doctor, can you open the slides I just sent to you?
Ah,
I prepare a slide.
oh, okay. Let me see if I can get that up there. Hang on. Ah, there it is. Just a minute, and we will get that up. Thank you. Give me a moment. I need to go. Windows wants about 5 clicks for me to do this. Okay. Oh, we have a lot of slides here. Okay, this will be good. Oh, I thought you're going to prepare one slide. We prepared a whole deck. All right. Should be that one. Okay. Go ahead and tell me when to advance the slides.
Okay. So this is the slide is based on recent learning and may not fully represent the entire content of the standard. So I'm sorry if they have some mistake. So it is only for your reference and for discussion. Next, please. So this is overview of the difference between ether curve based on the C curve. In the left side, that is C curve. It have the following features. The first is need a time synchronized for all nodes, and the cycle begin at the same time for all nodes, and assuming one small link delay, and the upstream node send and the downstream node received in the same cycle, and the downstream node continue to send in the next cycle. And another phrase is that the packets born in the same cycle are always sent together in the same cycle on each hop, and determine the input cycle by arrival time. So on the right side, it is ether curve. It has the following features. The first is no time synchronization for all nodes. For multiplication, we can take a look at that. There may be a large link delay. Each node, the cycle begin is not the same. But you need a frequency lock. That means all nodes use the same cycle time, and the node must know the phase offset between upstream node and this node. Then it is support high link delay. And the cycle which upstream node send and the cycle which downstream node received are independent. Downstream node continue to send in the mapped cycle, and the packets born in the same cycle always send in the same cycle on each hop. This is the same as seeker. And determine the input cycle ID by arrival time. This is also same as seeker. So this is the overview for these two mechanisms. Is there any comments for this page? So please turn to next. Here is important function of ESCAP is CPAP protocol that is used to detect the cycle phase offset between upstream node and this node. It uses two message method. The first message is CPAP timer marker frame, and the second message is CPAP phase offset frame. In CTMF message, it is generated by the CPU and send within any position in the period in the cycle, and recorded send the timestamp, and then send it to the BlueGB. When BlueGB received this message, it just recorded the received timestamp and do nothing. Then BlueGA send the second message. It carry the T1. This is the sending time slot offset from the cycle begin. You carry this time to in the second message and send it to the BlueGB. BlueGB, when it receives this message, it will tie with the first message and calculate the cycle begin of BlueGA. This time cycle begin is the local time in the BlueGB. For example, in the figure, that is t equals to 1.3. Okay, this is the process of CPAP protocol. Is there any comments for this page? So, hello, Isu.
So I want to emphasize, add a little bit more information to this slide. So there is a prerequisite, or there is assumption for this CPAP to work, that is the node A and the node B actually they are required to support hardware-based timestamping. So the assumption is the node A can record the first bit at the physical layer to be sent out, and the node B can record the first bit of a packet received at a particular port. So this is called hardware timestamping. So the prerequisite for this is to support this feature, so that if you look at this picture, you can see the bottom part, it says a receiving bridge. My remind is here, actually the receiving bridge refers to the input port, the incoming port of the receiving bridge, so that there is always a blue slope here, because consequently, because it is using the hardware-based timestamping, then it,
I cannot hear it.
Iju, we can't hear you. Did your audio get disabled?
hello,
Here you
can
are.
you? Oh, so when did I disable or lose my connection, or
I
from
think
very
I think
beginning?
I think you were explaining that the hardware timestamp functionality has to be in the ports of the switches.
Yeah. So that will help. That will help the CPAP, this new protocol, to be run in order to get quite or very accurate link propagation delay. So that's the purpose of that. And another thing is the picture, the bottom part of the picture says is a receiving bridge, but at the same time we need to remember for the receiving bridge there are incoming port and the receiving port and the transmission port. So here it is trying to explain how the uh, receiving port of node B try to do the phase alignment with the upstream transmission port on node A. So it hasn't shown the transmission port of node B. So this I want to clarify. That's all.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I fully agree. Your explanation. Okay. I will go to next, please. So in the standard, there are some remaining issues for CPAP. The first one, which fields we are take to carry to use for this two message. The one is define alternate type or some nuclear waste in the existing IEEE and 1588 protocol and LLDP protocol. Another issue is because there are two messages, so the second message should bind to the first message. To maybe use use a serial number for this purpose. We have another discussion point for CPAP. We think that maybe use one message method for the simple purpose to detect the cycle phase offset. The rough process is that node A may generate a single detection frame, and the hardware strictly controls sending the detection frame at the beginning position of the nearest and bandwidth free cycle. However, these comments I have just sent to in to Yaros. Maybe we can discuss in HB group. Is there any comments for this page? Okay. So please turn to next page. So this is the co-organization of E-circle, different from the traditional circle. There may be one queue for one chapter class. In E-circle, a queue may have multiple beans. For example, there may be multiple cycles for instance. For cycle for instance one, we have a logical queue and it can continue contains multiple bin 0, 1, 2, and that is also for the cycle for instance 2. Sorry, that is L. The second may be a cycle for instance 2 and so on. So when the bridge is received a packet according to the arrived time or according to the count, the byte count, it will assigned to the specific bin of the specific circle for instance. And then the transmission selection is based on the strict priority. So this is the overview of it. Okay, to the next, please. So each curve will support the multiple cycle level. Multiple cycle level can be applied on the same output for different traffic class. But in the frame, they should have fields, for example, where and tag, IP, DHCP to indicate the targeted cycle level. The cycle level here is cycle, for instance. Each cycle level may allocate a partial of port bandwidth, but the total allocation must not oversubscribe. Each cycle level must contain the integer multiple cycles of next faster level. The following is an example from they have 4 cycles of instance. For example, the fastest runs at the highest priority 6 with 3 bit A, B, C, and the slower is TC5, and the 10 is TC4, and the last is TC3. Each level contains integer multiple cycles of the next faster level. Okay, turn to next page, please.
Let me ask a question here, unless you're going to get to the next page, which is, it says frame should have fields. What's the anticipated encoding? Is it a flat encoding so that you'd have one field that could contain A through H, or would there be separate fields at for the tags at 3, 4, 5, and 6?
I'm not sure I understand your question. Sorry.
Okay, so what I'm asking about, let me see if I can get to the slide and quickly highlight it. Whoops, that wasn't what I meant to do. Hang on a minute. Try that. Yeah. There it goes. Okay. Sorry, PowerPoint's trying to help. Okay, so it says frame should have fields. What can you say about the intent of the field? Is it one field that might, in the packet, or in the frame, is it one field that might contain any of A through H, or might it
No, no,
be,
no,
okay,
no, sorry. The field, the field is just, for example, the VLAN tag or IPDSCB. The following example is not a frame. The following example is show the relationship between multiple SQL instance. For example, the priority 3 that in the top level is the priority 3 it is independent SQL instance, and the second priority 4 is another SQL instance. This example is not the framework encoding.
okay, so it's I think what I heard you say is that there would be a field at each priority level to indicate the cycle at that level. Well, let's go on the next slide and see if it gets clearer.
Yes. Okay. Okay. In this page, to illustrate the timing of transmission of frames from multiple levels, there are 3 levels, for example, 4, 5, 6, and first and third levels. The fastest level is priority 6. In each cycle, it has a blue frame is sending. However, there are some blank of TC6 that is actually reserved some bits by TC6, but not always have frames for sending. So there is a consideration that about the balance between overprovisioning and end-to-end latency. The selected cycle level may equal to the regulated interval. That means 1 frame per cycle. In this case, there is no overprovision, but the cycle level may be too large. Corresponding in the end-to-end latency is also large. Or a small cycle level may be selected for low end-to-end latency, but in this case, it may cause overprovision. So, is there any comments for this page? So, please turn to next.
Whoops. Hang on here. PowerPoint's attempting to help again. I apologize.
Okay, this page is discussing why integer multiple for TC. There's a counter example. In this example, TC5 allocate 50 percentage of port bundle width, while TC4 allocate 40 percentage. TC4 cycle does not contain integer multiple cycles of next first level TC5. So in the yellow shaded cycles, 3 batches of blue burst from 3 TC5 cycles may be squeezed together within the course of 1 TC4 cycle. So cause that 110 percentage of the bundle width that must be output during the measurement interval of 1 TC4 cycle. So that may cause the deterministic queues cannot be met. So is there any comments for this page? Otherwise, please turn to next. So this page is about the time-based C curve. The key feature of a time-based C curve is that the received frame is assigned the input port to output bin according to the arrival time. The number of bins required may be 2, 3, or more, determined by how many cycles an input cycle flip span and output port. Wall nodes must have frequency lock with the same cycle level. The cycle phase offset between the input cycle and the local cycle must be constant. Time-based cycle may be hard to support the interworking of different TC. In the figure, we can take a look at that. For example, in bridge A, they may have some zones in the cycle. Firstly, the interference delay that may be caused by a maximum frame with low priority, and there may be some delay evaluation caused by clock accuracy, and there also assume that means that time that is that is imposed by the downstream of bridge B. So the available zone that is the TA is less than the cycle. We can see that if a frame in the cycle in the bridge A send to the bridge B when the frame is received, it will according to the CPAP protocol detect message described before, it can determine the cycle of bridge A according to the arrival time, and in the input port of bridge B, it can estimate the maximum based on the maximum forwarding delay. This cycle will span in the output. It will contain how many cycles it will span. So we can look at the blue, block. But yes, this is the cycle length of bridge A. But when it ultimately arrived at the output port, it may be a cycle plus forwarding delay evaluation. So it may span 2 or 3 or more cycles in the output port. Okay. Is there any comments for this page? Okay, please turn to next page. So this is a question about if there is inconsistency between different modes. We can see that if there is inconsistency, the cycle phase offset is not constant. There may be different TAB. So for each TAB, bridge B can image a different input cycle sequence. That is not actual input cycle sequence. So the imaginated cycle sequence has the same cycle duration with output cycle sequence. Thus, it is impossible to assign output bin only based on the arrival time at the runtime due to non-uniqueness input cycle sequence. So this is the limitation of time-based bin assignment. So we can consider that if we don't use method at runtime to determine to assign output bin based on the arrival time. But if we can take some operation that is pre-orchestration, that may be to address this issue. Okay, please turn to the next page. So this is the alternate method of ECF, that is count-based CCF. The key feature of count-based CCF is the received frame is assigned at the input port to output bin according to the byte count per stream. Each stream store no more than its constructed amount of data per cycle into any given CCF bin. Frames above the limit are stored in the subsequent bins, and the excess data that exceed the maximum amount of buffer space allowed that the stream is discarded. So this is similar to reshaping with measurement interval of cycle. So this is our cost. Other features is that all nodes use nearly same cycle level, so it's not require exactly same cycle level because it's by the count of the stream. The cycle phase correspondingly may diverge, and the number of bins required may be 3 or 4 or more due to cycle duration difference between nodes and due to intra-node forwarding delay variation. So this is a simple overview of count-based CCF. Next page, please.
One question on this page. It says TC reserve by talker's reservation. Who's the talker here?
Talker is just the source of client side.
Okay, so that's an input parameter to the entire network.
Yes.
Okay.
So another important function about the ECF is stream aggregation. The stream aggregation function discusses how to change from a slower cycle level to a faster cycle level for stream and aggregate node. There are two keys for the flow aggregation. The first case is a typical case that from edge to backbone, the link bandwidth is changed from small and to large. So the flow aggregation is mentioned. And in the edge nodes, it may configure the cycle with largeness, and in the backbone, the cycle may be configured with small size. In case two, that is, even if all links have the same bandwidth, stream aggregation may still be enabled, just to reduce the number of flows that need to be recognized, and also reduce end-to-end latency. This document mainly discuss this function under the context that the fast CCF instance and the slow CCF instance have the same allocated bandwidth. So the case one is not the typical case for the stream aggregation. The aggregating bridge should use count-based bin assignment method. The reason is that time-based bin assignment requires input cycle duration and output cycle duration to be equal. And the time-based bin assignment is hard to process concurrent arrival frames of component streams if output first CCF instance has not allocated more bandwidth. However, within the aggregated segment, time-based bin assignment may still be applied. Next, please. So this is an example about the stream aggregation. We can take a look at node A. For each stream, this is the component stream. For each stream, one frame per cycle. For example, here the cycle is 1 millisecond. The required bandwidth for the service for the stream, we can simply get the result that is one frame size per 1 millisecond. So the total required bandwidth for all streams is 3 multiple frame size divided by 1 millisecond. So the cycle instance here is the 1 millisecond instance. Should at least allocate the bandwidth 3 multiple frame size per 1 millisecond. So, and node B, that is aggregated node. The inputted 3 component streams are regarded as the same aggregated stream. We termed it as for stream as 1 frame per cycle. Here, the cycle is faster. It just use 333 microseconds. Required bandwidth is 1 frame size per 333 microseconds. So the cycle of 333 microseconds instance allocate bandwidth 1 frame size per 333 microseconds at least. That is same as the cycle of 1 millisecond instance. Thus, the output bin size of cycle of 333 is just 1 of 3 of cycle of 1 millisecond bin size. So we can, however, we can consider the worst case if 3 component frames arrive concurrently. It will requires 3 multiple number of bins, 10 cycle of 1 milliseconds. However, the worst case is that if the flow in the lever is supported, the just use 2-bin mode. Okay, next please. So for the disaggregation, is talks about how to change from a faster cycle level to slower cycle level for stream and disaggregated node. This is similar to aggregating bridge. This aggregating bridge also uses count-based bin assignment. The frames of the individual disaggregated streams are distributed in the slow output bins in the normal manner. And the document also discussed the possibility that this aggregating bridge may use time-based bin assignment, but this is just in theory. More works are needed to be done. Okay, next page, please. So the last page is about some other considerations. The 6 items. The first is the gap between burst interval and cycle time. As you know, flow typically is defined as burst per burst interval, but not per cycle time. So we should convert the TSN and the CBS specs to cycle spec. And the second is the overprovisioning latency trade-off. Stream often consists of a frame with variable size. For example, maximum frame is 13,000 bits and the minimum frame is 672 bits. If you choose the cycle time is 100 microseconds, it will allocate 130 Mbps with 19% overprovisioning. If you choose the cycle time is 500 microseconds, it will allocate. So this formula, I'm not very clear about it. So it's just take a red color. I don't know if any other have some explanation about how about the 13,000 minus 8 come from. And the third item is tailored bandwidth offerings. It offers the customer only a specific set of choice for a bandwidth contract corresponding to the values of TC implemented in the provider's network to improve overpopulation. And the fourth item is about if cycle time equals to the regulated frame interval. In this case, one frame per cycle. Otherwise, more faster cycle level can be used, but with bandwidth wasted. The fifth is about the burst for the traffic may be interrupted for a long time by the slowest, the slowest cycle instance and cause burst miss. So it may apply CPS function to the slowest cycle instance to make cycle frames evenly distributed within the cycle. And the last item is when cycle polarity is less than at an important Q. For example, at ATS Q, it must be shown that in the worst case, the cycle Q can still empty its bin within the available time zone. Okay, this is what contents about EC curve. Thank you.
Okay, I have a question on this slide. Very brief. What should be converted here? Is this a statement that everything should be specified in terms of cycle time?
Everything should be yes. That is related with the admission control and network entry. It should yes specified in terms of cycle time.
Okay. Okay. Any questions or comments on this? Janu, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Xiaofu, for the nice presentation. I have a quick question. Is there explicit delay bound given? Just like a formula or something?
From the standard, I have not seen the formula about, for example, end-to-end latency, but just have some section described. However, it indicates that the end-to-end latency must include the remaining time that is due to the cycle phase observed. This is a key difference from the traditional TSMC curve.
This question I raised because if you go to the previous slide, maybe page 1 or 2.
Which
maybe
page?
2. Yeah,
page 2. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. As you can see, the CQF is deterministic, as we all can see very clearly. But ECQF, there is a certain uncertainty. Yeah, there is a factor that is not deterministic. If I understood correctly, the yellow and blue packets can be sent in a best case in node C in cycle 2, but in the worst case, they are sent in node C, the unnamed cycle, right? So there is a level of uncertainty.
Sorry,
I don't think
the
this is that deterministic in that sense, if I understood correctly.
sorry,
Thank you.
the figure is not clear. I'm sorry. I just give a simple answer about this. Mm, uh, if we to take a look at the node A, it send the yellow and the blue frame to node B. The node B received the yellow frame in cycle 0 and receive blue frame in cycle 1. This is the arrival time of these two frames at node B. But the node B, we await a time that is indicated as the red color, the red color, the arrow, then send at the cycle 2. The send at the same cycle. This is the cycle 2. So when node B send these two frames in cycle 2, the node C will receive this frame at the cycle 0, and again await with the time that is indicated by red color arrow, and then send in the next cycle.
Oh, okay. So what you're saying is that for example, in case node B, these yellow and blue packets are determined to be transmitted as cycle 2. That is determined.
Yes.
But
Yes,
what
it
if
is determined.
what if there is no blue packet? If there is only yellow packet, is it still have to be? Does it still has to be sent in cycle 2, not in cycle 1 or something?
I'm not sure understand your question. In the figure, the blue frame.
Okay. Okay. Let's talk it offline. It can't take too long. Thank you, Xiaofu.
Okay, so
Okay, for the minutes, what I think I heard is that ECQF is deterministic, but the deterministic failure is heavily dependent on the phase offsets that are shown in this figure. Is that correct?
yes, I have the same point.
Okay, let me get that noted in the minutes. Okay, Iju?
This is very a lot of details. So actually, I have a question. The QDV is just started with its very initial draft. So my question is, there for this slide deck, can you elaborate what are the comments from you and what are the text from the current draft? I can tell that the slide, as you said, the slide 4 basically is a comment from you, right? The slide 4. Is there any else that actually are the comments for the draft, but not the draft itself?
Mm, I'm not sure that understand the question. I just sent some comments about the QDV to Yalis, but in this slide we just get some more important features of this curve to know some more difference from the traditional seeker, and to we can give our explanation to the large scaling requirements.
So I guess my question is, I can see that the slide 4, what's said in slide 4 is a comments to current QDB draft text, right? It is not in current QDB draft. So is there anything else? Because QDB is still in very early stage. So for example, the last slide is it in the current QDB text, or it is something like your comments you want to make to QDB?
Oh,
So is
I
there
just
anything
give
else
some.
except page 4? Are the comments you want to make to QDB?
No. Just the page 4. I just
Only the page 4. Okay.
think this is an interesting point that we can have some discussion. The last page um, is the section of considerations in QDway, but just give some text reorganization.
Okay. Thank you.
So what should I summarize the contents of slide 15 as? I mean, Xiaofu, slide 15, are these sort of your observations on QDV that aren't part of the spec, or what is this?
This table is actually the text of QDway.
Ah, okay. Thank you. That will answer that answers the question I meant to ask. Thank you very much. Okay, Shusong?
Hi, can you hear me well?
We can hear you. You
Hi,
probably should speak up a little.
I'm sorry, I'm on a business trip. I will try to speak louder. Shafu, could you please go to the previous slides? It's a comparison between CQF and eCQF.
Oh, which slide do you want? I've got this. I'm running the. I have the slide control here. You
Slide
want
one.
for?
Just the slide before Ijo's discussion. I think there's a slide with two pictures. The right one is the CQF, and the left one is
Slide
eCQF.
2.
This
Yeah,
one.
slide 2.
Got it.
Yes. Thank you. Actually, I think I think the features listed in the right hand for ECQF is um quite similar to what we want to solve or to raise in SQF or TCQF. For example, there's no requirement for time synchronization. There's a mapping relationship maintained in each node or maintained in the controller. So, if you what you are trying to if you what you are trying to do is to provide a summary of the existing mechanisms, I recommend to and references here, especially references to the existing DNS work. And if you are trying to propose a new concept, I recommend to make it more clear whether it includes some other kinds of mechanisms. For example, as I think you have also raised another mechanisms about enhancement for CQF. I think maybe the common features of these mechanisms and especially differences of these mechanisms should be ended. So I just want to clarify first what do you trying to do to introduce the concept of eCPF here? or it is a concept that already been discussed in IEEE, or it is newly introduced. Sorry, because maybe I missed some part of the presentation.
Thank you, Xuesong. So if I get a point that you said that the word features of EasyCurve is just similar to C-curve and T-curve, and I think we have the same point about that. Um, so for another mechanism that I have raised, I think there may be some difference for each graph that I have just similar to Taurus. So I think that is another thread. You can take a look at my where that is response to Taurus, and if you have any comments, you can send to me. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that make it more clear. It seems like ECQF is kind of summary of CSQF and CSQF, a TCQF and CSQF. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, so if that is the case, I think what is my comment is that maybe we should consider whether we are going to introduce so many concepts um because there are have already a lot of mechanisms and these names. If we also try to introduce new concept to just summarize the existing mechanisms, maybe we should be more careful about the scope of the concept and what should be inside and what should be outside. And from my point, I think it's we don't have to use a new term for that. We can keep it separately um, because it's independent mechanisms.
Yeah. Shusang, I believe the term being used here comes from 802. I don't think we chose it.
Yes, that is also my question. Is that already a new term that is defined or clearly defined in IEEE? If that is the case, maybe I think it is more important to clarify the IEEE work and IETF work, as I have raised the question in the main list how to connect them. Because for IEEE, I'm not sure whether they are fully clear about the existing DES network. And if we just define the concept independently, I think that will make confusion.
It is certainly the case that we should use common terminology with IEEE.
Yeah. Because I think CSQF and TCQF have been discussed for sometimes in IETF. So yes, if there is new update in IEEE that can give new give new mechanisms for similar case, for example, for enhancement of CQF, I think that is good. But I'm not sure we are clear now what IEEE want to include here in this concept. If that is the whole picture, I think it's very similar. Or we should have some official discussion about how to make connection between these terminologies.
I have a short response to Xuesong's question. If
Mm-hmm.
we take a look at the ECF, we will see a key feature of ECF is that it just it just assign bins to frame according to the arrival time. That is, it seems dynamically at one time. Maybe some enhancement to it. For example, carry some bin ID in the packet and orchestrated the bin ID for the frame. And I think that is IPMPS network should do. And that is out of scope of the IGB.
Yeah, I think that is my proposal. I think what IEEE should do is that if they want to introduce new concept, it, it is also their opportunity to see what has already been done in IETF, just like what we do before we try to make some extensions to existing IEEE work. So I think we should clarify the relationship together. I think I understand your point, Shaofu, is that this concept may try to take the common features of these mechanisms, but I think that, for example, the reference is very necessary, and what's more inside is also should be clarified. I think. I mean, what's more is that besides the existing IETF work, what's more can be done, or what's new in this concept.
Yes, I understand your point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've tried to capture that in the notes, Shusong. It'll be good if you can take a look at the notes afterwards and revise and extend them.
Okay, thank you, David.
Okay.
Thank you, Shaofu.
Okay. Iju?
Yeah, so um, the eCQF is enhancement to CQF. It is pretty new project in IEEE 802.1. So it is still under development. I'm pretty much sure there are a lot of things has not been fixed. So I guess the purpose of current slide deck is trying to give a brief introduction to eCQF, which is defined by QDV, by the way. It is has not it has not been done that how the TCQF or CSQF and all the other relevant proposal different or similar to ECQF. I don't think it's being done in current slide deck. But to give a summary, I think eCQF, firstly, they provide more advanced features to the conventional CQF. For example, it try to lose the requirement for the time synchronization so that the different nodes can use can have the unsynchronized cycle boundaries, and also it allows both a time-based buffer or bin selection and the count-based buffer or bin selection, and at the same time, it allows the multiple traffic classes to be included in the CQF. That's why it's originally called multiple CQF. Multiple means multiple traffic classes, I think. So a quick comment to how it is different to TCQF in my mind is the first thing is because the eCQF is defined by IEEE, so it has a quite a valid assumption that between two neighbor nodes, there is only a point-to-point physical link. That's the first thing. The second thing is there is a hardware timestamp available so that it can use the time-based reception time to determine which output bin should be put for a particular packet. So for TCQF, uh, we try to define in DETNET which has a more complex topology possibly. So it may not be a point-to-point physical link between two neighbor nodes, and also there are some other unexpected time variations between two nodes. For example, there could be some large clock, uh, clock drift. We call it MTIE, I think, in the draft, so that it is not always true that a constant propagation delay is always available. So that's why explicit tag is required in that case. So that's very short comments to how the proposed TCQF and CSQF different from the current ECQF. Yeah, that's my understanding.
Busy typing, hang on. Okay, I think I got most of that. Any other comments or questions on this? Okay, Shafu, thank you very much for preparing this. You said you were going to prepare a slide. Instead, we got about 15, and that was a very thorough discussion. Thank you very much. Okay. Let me go switch to this slide. Go switch to this slide, which might make a little more sense now. So this is an enhanced version of the slide deck we used last time. Maybe the thing to do quick might be to start with what the CQF evaluations were. Xiaofu had done one, and Iju had done one. They're pretty close to each other. I think the only difference was, let me quick check. The only difference was whether this number 7 down here was a no or a partial. So maybe Xiaofu, would like to talk about the eCQF evaluation. Do you want to start by talking about CQF or start by just talking about the eCQF evaluation directly?
Okay, I think we can talk about the CQF evaluation for this item 3.7. For this item, it is related with be scalable to a large number of hops. My understanding is that because the hops count is large, so it may affect the end-to-end latency. So it's more difficult to select the set time. So I need to make trade-offs between the end-to-end delay and the set duration. Yes, so the evaluation is partial.
Okay. All right. And then okay, and I think the biggest okay, go to eCQF. Go ahead. I needed to remind myself what was here.
Okay. For eCQF, just based on the introduction about the slides, the first item is time singularly. I think that this evaluation result is yes. There's no problem. The second is to support a large single hop propagation latency. The evaluation result is also yes. The third one is accommodated the higher link speed. This evaluation result is partial. I think that my understanding is not very sufficient. My initial evaluation is that a more buffer space is required for specific length of cell duration. And we may take a smaller cell size because the bandwidth is too large. But that cost a much smaller available zone. However, in the large scale network, we typically to use 3-bin or 4 or more bin model. So the available zone maybe is not important issue. And the fourth item is about scalable to the large number of flows. This evaluation is partial. This is just similar to C-curve transmission gates because E-curve is also assigned the gates according to the arrival time. So transmission gates are associated with each aggregated queue, but the stream of filtering and policing actions per stream should be maintained. Another is that count-based bin need to maintain state machine per flow. So this item is partial. And the next item is tolerate higher utilization. This evaluation is low. We can discuss it. My understanding is that the cell size is always far less than the burst interval. So overprovisioning caused by burst per cycle may cause low utilization. Okay, this is just based on the bandwidth reservation method in the document. So, okay, for the next item is prevent the flow fluctuation from disrupting source. This evaluation that is partial. We can divide it to two aspects. One is time-based cycle. It may ensure cycle flows to be collected. And the count-based cycle it may discard excess data about the conducted amount. And the last is scalable to larger number of hops with complex topology. This is similar to SIGAF. You should consider the trade-off between the unbounded latency and the cycle duration. Okay.
Any comments or questions? Okay, so the quick comparison between CQF and ECQF in the evaluation column is that the first two requirements have gone from no for CQF to yes for ECQF. The others don't appear to have changed.
Yes, it's similar like this.
Okay, and then I put together an initial scorecard, and the purpose of this was to take a look at what is already available, or in the case of ECQF, hopefully coming soon from IEEE, against against our requirements. And you can read the details down the evaluation. We're just counting, and in the right-hand column on notes, listed the ones that aren't yes. What I wanted to call attention to is the two requirements for which we have for which there aren't any yes evaluations. Both involve scalability, scalable to a large number of flows and scalable to a large number of hops with complex topology. Any comments or observations? One of the purposes of this slide was to start to illuminate the relative importance of the requirements in the requirements draft. And sure enough, the two scalable requirements are the ones for which we don't have any really wonderful solutions.
Well, yes. So it's a really useful result to show that, and we may need to rethink about the two requirements, which is not fulfilled by any solutions, I think.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good. Janu?
Yeah, I have a comment on the evaluation of ATS.
Okay, we can go back to
As
here, I guess.
yes, please.
There it is. Sorry, took 2 clicks.
I think the ATS is quite a flexible solution, although it doesn't give the very tight end-to-end latency bound, but it is flexible. So I think for the large number of flows and the complex topology, I think ATS can be a solution, especially for 3.7. ATS is capable of providing such scalability. For the 3.4, it has to maintain the flow state, so it is still partial. I agree on that. But regarding 3.7, I don't think the flow aggregation is necessary. Of course, the flow aggregation would help, but still ATS can manage a larger number of hops with complex topology. As far as the flows are not very many. That's my understanding. Thank you.
I'm taking notes here. Okay, so you were suggesting, Janu, that this partial could be a yes. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would suggest 3.7 is yes. Not
Oh, you should suggest 3.7 is yes. I'm sorry. I
yes,
misunderstood you.
as Xiaofu has mentioned in the notes, as the hopes increase and the topology becomes complex, then obviously the end-to-end latency bound increases. But they can apply to any solution that we have seen so far. So I would suggest the answer is yes. Evaluation is yes. That's just my comment. Thank you.
Jilu, thank you. With I just brief response to this item is that why give the partial evaluation for this item? I think there may be some service that require low latency. Okay, it's actually right that the ATS can give worst case bounded latency. However, as my note is stated that the bounded latency is large. It may not meet the requirements of some service. However, yeah, it actually meet another subtype of service that have large end-to-end latency requirements. So this when evaluation is just partial. If yes, that means that the ATS can meet any type of service for any requirement of end-to-end latency.
Yeah, I agree to your argument. Yeah, I agree. Basically, agree to you. But according to your argument, the number of hops certainly affects the end-to-end latencies of any solutions. So uh, no solution is free from that limit of large number of hops.
Mm, uh, there may be for some mechanism, for example, we just described the eCircuit for example, eCircuit can provide multiple instances. The fastest instance may configure, for example, 10 microsecond cycle level. So the end-to-end latency may meet the requirement. So it is provide a flexible tool set for multiple values of service.
Yeah, I think CQF and ECQFR has the end-to-end latency function that is linear to the number of hops. I agree on that.
Yes.
Yeah, but the AT has the same property. It is end-to-end latency bound, is linear to the number of hops. So there is no difference,
Mm,
I guess.
maybe they have some difference about for example, ATS. I don't think it may provide, for example, multiple instance. For some topic class, it may configure the pre-configure reserved bundle values that determine the bounded latency. So this worst case bundle latency is applied to any flows belongs to this topic class. This worst case latency may be too large.
Okay, I think this is not very important issue to spend some time, so we can discuss offline. Thank you, Xiaofu.
Okay. And I tried to capture that in the notes. So I think that is a useful discussion about whether linear scaling with number of hops is the best we can do or whether better is possible. Tron?
You hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Yeah. For the partial evaluation, I have a suggestion. If we can make a clarification for the requirements with the partial, if we can clarify and define a definite figure or a boundary value or other clarification for the requirements with partial, that we can distinguish the mechanisms with a definite no or definite yes, then we can distinguish the mechanisms with the mechanism that can be applied in large scale and with the low the low evaluations, the mechanisms with low cannot be applied in a scale. If we cannot clarify that, then we can map the requirements into several classification. For example, the first part is the overall requirements, just like the 3.6 and the 3.8 is the overall requirements for the network capability. I think it must be made, the requirements must be satisfied for the mechanisms, and the other requirements such like the 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3, they are the requirements for the particular queuing mechanisms. It must be yes, and for other requirements such as the 3.4, 3.5, and 3.7, they are for the flow and the traffic scheduling mechanism. If they can be partial for the mechanisms, um, so it is okay uh, for mechanisms with the partial evaluation. I don't know if I make my clarification clear.
I heard a bunch of things in there. Let me see if I can. Let me see if I understood correctly. So, hang on. Need to type one more word here. Okay, so I think I heard you touch on two things. The first is it sounded like you had some ideas for how to clarify the 3.7 requirements so that we can get a better evaluation of whether the scaling is good, whether the scaling is really good, partial, or not acceptable. Uh,
Yeah.
is okay. Could you? That sounds like it affects requirements draft. Could you start a discussion on the list about how to improve the requirements draft text to help us get there?
Yeah, I think I suggest to discuss if we can to clarify the requirements more clear, to distinguish with low or yes, but not the partial. But I'm not sure if we can do it. If
Well,
we
that's
can't do, yeah,
okay. Well, it sounds like what I think I'm asking you to do to begin with is to focus on the 3.7 requirement, where we
yeah,
have we I hear a lack of an absence of agreement on whether linear scaling with hop count is yes, acceptable, or only partial. And I think the requirements draft ought to take a position on that. If you could start that discussion, that would be very helpful.
yeah. Okay, I will. I think we can do some discussion on the mailing list and to collect the number of the partial or no or yes or with the value of the number of the hops.
Okay, I made a note of that. And then beyond that, I think you were suggesting at least a couple. I heard at least a couple of things. One is I think I heard a possibility of separating queuing versus transmission scheduling in the requirements. Did I understand that
Yes,
correctly?
yes. I think
And
yeah. for the requirements for the particular QE mechanisms, that it must be yes, and the other focus on the scheduling of the flow and the traffic scheduling may be partial. So this is they have different importance.
Okay, particularly because as of right now, for the let me go down. Hang on, got too many windows. Just a minute. I want that window. There we go. Yeah, particularly because certainly for the first few requirements, we have no problems for. Let's see. For at least these, the first few requirements, we don't have a problem with the finding these existing mechanisms that meet them. Whereas for at least the two scalability ones, since we initially came up with no yeses, we do have clear issues there. Okay. I think I captured your comments. Did you want to say anything else?
Yeah, no, thank you.
Okay. All right. In the 15 minutes that remain, let me suggest what we might do for the next meeting, which is it's in 3 weeks. The calendar was carefully picked to avoid the early September holiday in the U.S. Monday, September 4th is a major U.S. holiday. And so a lot of people may not be around on Tuesday the 5th. So we're going to go 3 weeks in general. And let me suggest that we, in the next meeting, start looking at this sort of single slide evaluation for the new mechanisms. But I'm a little bit concerned that here, I'll pick on ECQF. A little bit concerned that just asking for the single slide is going to be too short. I mean, we sort of saw that in this meeting, where starting from this slide was the wrong place to start. The right place to start was the more detailed explanation. So maybe, and I will take this to the list. I will take this to the list. So that please don't take this as anything more than David's initial suggestion. Maybe what we want is a summary slide like this for each of the new proposals, accompanied by a small number of slides that help explain what these evaluations, why the evaluations are what they are, in a little more detail than is possible in the notes column. Does that sound at least plausible? And then we can refine further on the list.
David?
Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think it is plausible, and it is time to do that uh, right now. Yeah, as you have remembered that I have presented the C-score, the solution we have suggested, and the evaluation table of the C-score I presented in the San Francisco. So I can review that evaluation table with the detailed explanation. Maybe I can start
Yes.
with that part. Yeah.
Yeah. And what I think I'm going to do is I will send something to the list. I'm going to want to put a both a slide count and time restriction on this, because in order to do a fair job on the new mechanisms, we really should try to make a first pass over all of the evaluations in the next 2 hour meeting. And at 30 minutes, excuse me, holy smokes, I need more coffee this morning. At 30 minutes of mechanism, we won't have enough time. So I'm probably going to try to hold it down to a few slides and a time cap for each of them so that we can get through all of them.
Okay, yeah, 30 minutes will be more than enough.
Yeah, 30 minutes is too much. Think 10, please think 10 to 15.
Oh, okay.
If I start with 10 to 15, that's, I don't think we have 8 new ones, but that'll mean that if we run over slightly, we can fit them all. Okay. Any
Then
other? Go ahead.
you're planning to review like 4 or 5 or 6 solutions in the next meeting together.
Yeah, what I would like to have for the next meeting is an evaluation slide like this one for every one of the new proposals that people would like to have considered,
Oh,
so that we can
okay.
start, and then the evaluation slide would probably needs a supporting slide or two, particularly for the two scalable requirements, 3.4 and 3.7, that are causing us the most difficulty.
Okay.
And I'll put this on the list, and I will try to get that done this week so we can have some time for discussion and agree on what it ought to be before people start investing a lot of time in preparing slides. And I mean, if you've already prepared something that looks like an evaluation slide, you should be able to reuse it. I think the new slide work might just be a little bit more explanation, particularly on the two scalability requirements. Okay, any other comments or questions?
Your proposals will be done in our next meeting, which is 3 weeks later. Am I right?
Yes, and I
Okay.
will try to get the guidelines for what I'd like to see as slideware for that meeting out this week. I'm just back
Okay.
from vacation, and so I have all kinds of other stuff I've got to get done this week too.
Yeah. Good. Sounds good.
Yes, I will try to do that. Okay, I think we're done. Thank you very much, and especially to those for whom this is not the most convenient time.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.